Peter Mason stared at the holographic display floating above his desk. The numbers didn't make sense. He blinked twice and looked again, but the data remained unchanged. After 3 years working at the Galactic Classification Bureau, this was the first time he had seen anything like it. The alien scientist standing next to him, Dr. Kekstroll, clicked his mandibles nervously. The tall, insectoid researcher had been studying Earth's environmental readings for the past 6 months, and his findings had disturbed the entire xenobiology department. "You see the problem, don't you?" Dr. Kekstroll's translator hummed. "These readings exceed our standard classification metrics." Peter nodded slowly. Earth's current rating as a Class 15 Deathworld was already considered extreme. But these new measurements... His voice trailed off as he scrolled through more data. The laboratory around them buzzed with activity as other scientists, both human and alien, worked at their stations. The pristine white walls and advanced equipment of the Galactic Classification Bureau's main research facility usually felt comfortable to Peter, but today everything seemed different. Dr. Kekstroll moved closer to the display, his 4 arms adjusting various controls to highlight specific data points. Look at the atmospheric composition analysis. The variety of toxic substances your species tolerates daily is unprecedented. And that's just the beginning. Peter pulled up another set of readings. Temperature variations, too. Most Class 15 species can handle maybe 2 or 3 climate zones. Humans live in almost all of them. Precisely. Dr. Kekstroll's antennae twitched with excitement. And what about the radiation levels? The gravitational stress? The biological hazards? The sheer number of predatory species? It's remarkable your kind survived long enough to develop space travel. A soft chime interrupted their discussion. The laboratory's main screen activated, showing the face of Chief Administrator Zilvax. Her crystalline features sparkled under the office lights. "Dr. Kekstroll, Mr. Mason, please report to my office immediately. The board wants to discuss your findings." The walk to the administrator's office felt longer than usual. Peter's mind raced with implications. If Earth really needed a new classification, it would change everything. The way other species viewed humans, trade agreements, diplomatic relations, all of it would need to be reconsidered. Chief Administrator Zilvax waited for them behind her desk, her crystalline form catching the light from the giant window that looked out over the sprawling research complex. 3 other board members attended virtually, their holograms flickering in chairs around the room. "Dr. Kekstroll," she began, "your report suggests something unprecedented. You believe Earth's current classification is insufficient." The insectoid scientist stepped forward. "The evidence is clear, Administrator. Earth's environmental hazards exceed every metric we use for Class 15 worlds. The combination of factors is unique in our database. And Mr. Mason," she turned to Peter, "as our human expert, what is your assessment?" Peter took a deep breath. "Ma'am, I studied the classification system extensively. While we knew Earth was dangerous by galactic standards, these new findings show it's more extreme than anyone realized. The fact that humans consider these conditions normal is, well, apparently not normal at all." One of the holographic board members, a gaseous being named Enxol, swirled in agitation. If this data is accurate, it would mean creating an entirely new classification. Class 16 has never existed because we never found a world that needed it. "The data is accurate," Dr. Kekstroll insisted. "We've verified it multiple times." Chief Administrator Zilvax's crystalline surface rippled, a sign of deep thought among her species. "This will require extensive investigation. Mr. Mason, we'll need you to coordinate with a research team. We must understand exactly what makes Earth so exceptional." Peter nodded, already thinking about the work ahead. As he left the office with Dr. Kekstroll, he couldn't help but smile slightly. Humans had always known Earth was tough, but being officially recognized as too dangerous for even Class 15. That was something else entirely. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" he asked his alien colleague. Dr. Kestrel's mandibles clicked in agreement. Indeed, I suspect your species is about to become even more fascinating to the galactic community, and possibly more frightening. Peter thought about Earth's vast deserts, frozen poles, dense jungles, and deep oceans. He thought about all the things humans took for granted: the weather, the gravity, the countless species that could kill them. Maybe they really were tougher than anyone had realized, including themselves. The desert wind whipped sand against Peter's protective suit as he stood beside Lisa Clark and their alien colleague Vixna. They were in the middle of the Sahara Desert, conducting their first field study of Earth's extreme environments. Vixna's environmental suit was much bulkier than the human's light gear. Her aquatic species couldn't handle the dry heat, even for short periods. She waved one of her tentacles at her handheld scanner, the device projecting data into the air before them. "This is remarkable." Vixna's voice crackled through their comm system. "The temperature here reaches levels that would cook most Class 15 species alive. Yet I see human nomads living in these conditions with minimal technology." Lisa nodded, adjusting her sun goggles. "The Tuareg people have lived here for generations. They've adapted to the heat and know how to find water in one of the driest places on Earth. Their research ship waited a kilometer away, its silver hull reflecting the harsh sunlight. It had been 2 weeks since Peter's discovery at the Classification Bureau, and now they were gathering evidence from Earth's most extreme locations. "We should move to the next site," Peter suggested, checking his tablet. "The Arctic Research Station is expecting us in 6 hours. Vixna's large eyes blinked rapidly behind her suit's faceplate. "You mean we're going from this heat to freezing temperatures in the same day? And humans live in both places." "That's exactly why we're doing this study," Lisa explained, already walking back to the ship. "We need to show the Bureau how humans adapt to completely different environments." Once aboard, they quickly changed out of their desert gear. Peter reviewed their data while the ship's AI plotted their course to the Arctic. The numbers were already telling an interesting story. "Look at this," he called to his colleagues. The Sahara's daytime temperature was 45 degrees Celsius. The Arctic station we're heading to is currently at -35. That's an 80-degree difference in the places humans live and work. Vixna moved her tentacles in a pattern that indicated amazement. "On my homeworld, a 10-degree temperature change would require extensive biological adaptation procedures. The fact that humans can function in both extremes is disturbing." The ship's journey to the Arctic took just under an hour. As they descended through thick clouds, the endless white landscape below looked like another planet compared to the desert they'd left behind. Dr. Alan Burke waited for them outside the research station, wearing what looked to Vixna like surprisingly light cold weather gear. The station's lights glowed softly in the perpetual winter darkness. "Welcome to the top of the world," Alan greeted them with a smile. "Ready to see how we live in the cold?" The next few hours were filled with more surprises for their alien colleague. They watched researchers working outside in temperatures that would freeze most species solid. They saw how humans had built permanent structures on the ice and learned about the indigenous peoples who had thrived there for thousands of years. "But what about the darkness?" Vixna asked as they toured the station. "This region goes without sunlight for months. Most species would suffer severe psychological damage. We adapt," Alan explained simply. "Some people find it hard at first, but humans are good at adjusting to new conditions." Later, as they prepared to leave for their next destination, a deep-sea research facility, Lisa noticed Vixna making rapid notes on her personal device. "Finding everything you need for the study?" she asked. Vixna's eyes focused on her. "Every new piece of data suggests that Earth isn't just slightly above Class 15 standards. It's far beyond them. And the most remarkable thing is how casually humans treat these extreme conditions." Peter smiled as he checked their next coordinates. "Wait until you see how we handle underwater pressure. And after that, we're visiting an active volcano research station." "A volcano?" Vixna's voice rose in pitch. "You study active volcanoes. Up close." "Of course," Lisa replied. "How else would we learn about them?" As their ship took off again, Vixna added another note to her report. "Humans don't just survive in Class 15 conditions. They actively seek out and study the most dangerous environments they can find. This behavior alone might justify a new classification level." Amy Bradford stood before the Galactic Classification Bureau's main conference room, her heart beating quickly as she faced the crowd of alien scientists. The room was packed with representatives from 20 different species, all eager to hear the results of the Earth investigation. The holographic displays behind her showed the data collected over the past month. Peter, Lisa, and Vixna sat in the front row, their research about to change galactic understanding forever. "Distinguished colleagues," Amy began, her voice steady, "what we've discovered about Earth goes beyond anything in our classification system. We need to share our findings and discuss their implications." She pulled up the first set of images, side-by-side comparisons of Earth's various environments. The desert next to the Arctic, the deep ocean beside mountain peaks, dense jungles alongside open plains. "Humans don't just survive in these different environments," she explained. "They thrive in them. They build homes, create communities, and raise families in conditions that would kill most Class 15 species instantly." The audience murmured. A reptilian scientist raised a scaled hand. "But surely they use advanced technology to survive." "That's the most surprising part," Peter spoke up from his seat. "Many human communities live in extreme conditions with basic technology, or sometimes almost none at all. They've adapted naturally to these environments." Amy nodded and switched to the next display. Detailed scans of human biological responses to various conditions. "Our bodies have built-in adaptations that let us handle extreme changes. We can survive temperature swings that would be fatal to most species. We can process foods that would poison others. We can heal from injuries that would be terminal to many Class 15 beings." Vixna floated forward, her tentacles moving excitedly. "During our research, I watched humans work in conditions that my species would consider unsurvivable. They treated deadly environments as routine workplaces." The next slides showed humans working in various hazardous conditions: firefighters entering burning buildings, deep-sea divers handling underwater repairs, scientists collecting samples from active volcanoes. "But the most significant finding isn't just about survival," Amy continued. "It's about human adaptation speed. When faced with new environmental challenges, humans can adjust their behavior and survival strategies incredibly quickly." Lisa stood up and joined Amy at the front. "We tested this by placing volunteer human subjects in simulated environments matching other Class 15 worlds. In every case, humans found ways to adapt faster than the native species of those worlds." The room erupted in surprised conversations. A crystalline being chimed for attention. "Are you suggesting humans are more adaptable than species that evolved specifically for those conditions?" "Exactly," Amy confirmed. "Humans are environmental generalists. Instead of specializing in one type of extreme condition, we've evolved to handle many different extremes. This makes us unique among known species." She showed their final data set, a comparison of Earth's combined environmental challenges against all known Class 15 worlds. Earth's line on the graph extended far beyond the others, breaking through the top of the chart. "The evidence is clear," Amy stated firmly. "Earth's combination of environmental hazards, along with humanity's ability to thrive in these conditions, exceeds the Class 15 definition. We're dealing with something entirely new." A heavy silence fell over the room. The implications were enormous. If Earth needed a new classification, it would change how the galaxy viewed humanity. It would affect everything from trade agreements to military treaties. "There's more," Peter added, standing to join his colleagues. "We've discovered that some conditions humans consider normal recreation would qualify as extreme survival situations on other worlds. Activities like mountain climbing, deep-sea diving, and desert exploration are considered sports on Earth." The alien scientists looked at each other in confusion. The idea of treating survival challenges as entertainment was completely foreign to them. "We're not just suggesting a new classification," Amy concluded. "We're revealing that humanity's relationship with extreme environments is fundamentally different from any other known species. Earth isn't just a bit more dangerous than other Class 15 worlds. It's in a category of its own." The halls of the Galactic Federation Council buzzed with nervous energy. John Carter adjusted his formal diplomatic uniform as he walked beside Susan Wright toward the emergency session. News of Earth's possible reclassification had spread quickly, causing panic among some species and intense curiosity among others. "How bad is it?" Susan asked, clutching her data pad filled with xenobiology reports. John shook his head. "Half the council wants to create a new classification. The other half wants to quarantine Earth completely. They're scared." The council chamber was massive, with curved rows of seats rising high above the central speaking platform. Representatives from over 200 species filled the room, their voices creating a strange mix of sounds that the universal translators struggled to handle. High Counselor Zixtal, a tall being made of shifting metallic plates, called for order. The room gradually fell silent. "We are here to discuss the Earth classification crisis," Zixtal's voice echoed through the chamber. "Ambassador Carter, please address the council." John walked to the center platform, feeling hundreds of alien eyes watching him. "Honorable council members, I understand your concerns about Earth's classification. But I urge you to see this as an opportunity for greater understanding, not a cause for fear." A representative from a crystalline species flashed angry colors. "Understanding. Your world is more dangerous than our worst-case scenarios. How did we not notice this before?" "Because we were looking at individual factors, not the whole picture." Susan stepped forward, joining John. Earth's unique combination of challenges created something unprecedented, a species that can adapt to almost anything. The chamber erupted in worried discussions. A representative of a gaseous species floated forward, its form swirling with anxiety. "That's exactly what concerns us. If humans can survive conditions that would kill most species, what else are they capable of?" "We've lived alongside you for decades," John reminded them. "Earth's classification doesn't change who we are. We're still the same people who have traded with you, worked with you, and helped explore the galaxy." A reptilian counselor rose from his seat. "But it changes everything we thought we knew about survival capabilities. Some of my people are already calling for a review of all military treaties with Earth." Susan pulled up holographic data in the center of the chamber. "Look at how we've used our adaptability. Earth's scientific teams help with disaster relief on other worlds. Our emergency responders assist in situations too dangerous for other species. We use our abilities to help, not harm." The council chamber grew quieter as they studied the images. Human rescue workers helping during a volcanic crisis on Vega Prime, Earth scientists developing survival suits for less resilient species, human doctors working in hazardous conditions to treat alien patients. "We propose a compromise," John said into the silence. "Yes, create Class 16 for Earth, but use this knowledge to strengthen our cooperation, not divide us. Our ability to survive extreme conditions means we can help in situations where other species cannot." High Counselor Zixtal's metallic plates shifted thoughtfully. "And what guarantees can Earth offer about the use of these capabilities?" "We'll establish a joint oversight committee," John offered. "Representatives from all council species can help guide how we share our adaptation capabilities. Complete transparency." The chamber filled with quieter, more contemplative discussions. Susan noticed several representatives nodding in agreement. "Perhaps," a bird-like counselor chirped, "we have been looking at this wrong. Instead of seeing Earth as a threat, we should see it as a resource. Who better to help us deal with environmental crises than a species that thrives in extreme conditions?" John smiled slightly. The mood in the chamber was shifting. Fear was giving way to curiosity and possibility. "We're not asking you to ignore the implications of Earth's true classification," he concluded. We're asking you to help us use this knowledge for the benefit of all species. After all, isn't that what the Federation stands for? Daniel Ross stood in the control room of the Galactic testing facility, watching through reinforced windows as his team prepared for another survival demonstration. After the council meeting, the Federation had demanded proof of humanity's capabilities, and now they would get it. "Are the alien observers ready?" he asked, looking at the viewing gallery where representatives from various Class 15 worlds waited. His assistant nodded. "All 17 species are present. They've each sent their top survival experts to compete against our volunteers." The testing chamber below could simulate environments from any known world. Today's challenge would recreate the acid storms of Nexus VI, one of the most dangerous Class 15 planets. "Let's begin with the standard protection test," Daniel announced over the comm system. "All participants will wear their species' normal protective gear." In the chamber, 5 humans stood alongside aliens of different species. Each wore their own environmental suits. The human suits looked surprisingly light compared to the heavy protection the aliens wore. Starting acid storm simulation in 3, 2, 1. The chamber's environment shifted. Dark clouds formed above, and drops of highly corrosive acid began to fall. The aliens immediately moved to their protective shelters, but the humans stayed out, collecting samples and taking readings. "Impossible," one of the alien observers muttered. "Those suits should be melting." Daniel smiled. "Earth rain is often acidic. We developed acid-resistant materials centuries ago. Our suits are thin but highly effective." The next test involved temperature extremes. The chamber shifted from desert heat to Arctic cold in minutes. While other species needed rest periods between exposures, the humans adapted quickly to each change. "Your bodies should be going into shock from these transitions," a reptilian scientist protested. "Humans experience temperature swings like this naturally on Earth," Daniel explained. "Many of our cities can see both freezing cold and intense heat in the same day." Hour after hour, the tests continued. The humans demonstrated survival skills in high pressure, low oxygen, intense radiation, and toxic atmospheres. Each time, they performed beyond Class 15 standards. "Now for the endurance test," Daniel announced. "Participants will face multiple environmental challenges simultaneously." The chamber transformed into a nightmare scenario. Acid rain fell through a radioactive atmosphere, while gravity fluctuated and temperature swung between extremes. Toxic gases swirled through the air, and the ground shook with seismic activity. One by one, the alien participants retreated, their survival instincts and safety protocols forcing them to withdraw. But the humans pressed on, working together to complete their assigned tasks despite the conditions. "This is beyond Class 15 capability," one of the alien observers admitted. "We've never seen any species maintain functionality in combined extreme conditions like this." Daniel pulled up the biomedical readings. Noticed that the humans aren't just surviving. Their problem-solving abilities remain intact. They're not simply enduring the conditions, they're actively working and adapting to them. The final test involved emergency scenarios. The participants had to rescue a dummy target from increasingly dangerous situations. The aliens performed well in conditions similar to their homeworlds, but only the humans could handle multiple types of hazards. "We've seen enough," the lead observer announced after 8 hours of testing. "The data clearly shows human capabilities exceed Class 15 parameters in every category." As the testing chamber returned to normal conditions, Daniel watched his tired but triumphant team emerge. They had proven what Earth had claimed. Humans weren't just slightly tougher than other species. They were in a class of their own. "Send the results to the classification board," he told his assistant. They wanted proof. Well, now they have it. Documented, measured, and verified by their own observers. The alien scientists gathered around their data displays, their expressions showing a mix of concern and admiration. One of them approached Daniel. "We thought Earth's classification request was exaggerated," the alien admitted. "We were wrong. If anything, you may have understated your capabilities. The Galactic Classification Board's main chamber was silent as Mary Phillips walked to the center platform. After months of research, tests, and debates, the time had come for the final decision about Earth's status. The 7 board members sat in their elevated seats, each representing a different group of spacefaring civilizations. Their faces showed the weight of the choice before them. Never in the board's history had they created a new planetary classification. Honored members of the board, Mary began, her voice steady. You have seen all the evidence. You've reviewed the research data, watched the test results, and studied the environmental readings. Now you must decide. Does Earth belong in a class of its own? The holographic displays around her showed scenes from the investigation. Peter's initial discovery, the field studies across Earth's harshest environments, the survival tests that proved human capabilities, and the council debates about what it all meant. We have examined everything thoroughly, the crystalline board member chimed. But creating Class 16 is not a small matter. It would mean admitting our entire classification system needs revision. Mary nodded. Sometimes new discoveries require us to change how we see things. Humans didn't ask to be different. We simply evolved to handle Earth's challenges. The aquatic board member rippled thoughtfully. The test results are undeniable. Your species can survive conditions that would kill even the hardiest Class 15 beings. But there are concerns about what this means for galactic security. I understand those concerns, Mary replied. That's why we've agreed to share our adaptation techniques with the Federation. Our survival skills can help all species deal with environmental emergencies. The room's displays changed to show recent events. Human rescue teams helping during a radiation crisis on a Class 12 world, Earth scientists developing new protection systems for other species, and joint research projects studying extreme environments. The gaseous board member swirled in its containment field. Some say we should simply list Earth as an exception to Class 15, rather than create a new category. But that wouldn't be accurate, Mary argued. The difference between Earth and Class 15 worlds is greater than the difference between any other consecutive classes. We need a new classification to properly understand and study these conditions. She brought up the final comparison charts. They showed how Earth's combined challenges created an environment far more extreme than any known Class 15 world. The gap was too large to ignore. Look at the evidence, she continued. Earth has higher radiation levels, more extreme temperature swings, stronger gravity, more varied atmospheric conditions, and more dangerous life forms than any Class 15 planet. And humans don't just survive these conditions. We thrive in them. The reptilian board member leaned forward. And you believe sharing this knowledge will benefit the galaxy? Absolutely, Mary said firmly. Think of how many lives we could save in disaster situations, how many new worlds we could help explore safely, how much we could learn about survival and adaptation. The board members looked at each other, sharing silent communications through their neural links. The chamber remained quiet as they considered everything they had learned about Earth and humans. Finally, the crystalline board member spoke. We have reached a decision. Based on all evidence presented, we agree that Earth's conditions exceed Class 15 parameters by a significant margin. The gap is too large to ignore or classify as a mere exception. Mary held her breath as the board member continued. Therefore, we hereby establish Class 16 in the Galactic Planetary Classification System. Earth will be its first, and currently, only member. This new classification will help us better understand and study extreme environments that exceed our previous standards. The chamber's displays changed to show the updated classification system, with Earth now officially listed as the galaxy's first Class 16 world. Peter Mason stood at the window of the Galactic Classification Bureau's observation deck, watching ships from dozens of worlds arrive for the first Extreme Environment Summit. 6 months had passed since Earth's reclassification as a Class 16 world, and everything had changed. Vixna floated up beside him, her tentacles moving in patterns that Peter now recognized as excitement. Look at how many species came to learn from Earth. Who would have thought your dangerous homeworld would become such an attraction? It's still hard to believe sometimes, Peter replied, smiling as he watched a crystalline ship dock carefully next to a massive gas-filled transport. A year ago, most species tried to avoid Earth. Now they're all rushing to study it. The main conference hall below was filling up with representatives from across the galaxy. Some wore environmental suits to handle Earth's conditions, while others had already started using new protective gear designed by human engineers. The adaptation training programs are going well, Vixna said, checking her datapad. 17 species have already completed the basic survival courses. They can now handle conditions that would have killed them 6 months ago. Peter nodded. The Bureau had transformed part of its facility into a training center where humans taught other species how to survive in extreme environments. It wasn't about making them as tough as humans. It was about sharing knowledge and techniques that could save lives. Lisa Clark joined them at the window, carrying fresh reports. The medical research team just made another breakthrough. We found a way to help Class 12 species handle radiation levels that used to be fatal to them. And the emergency response teams? Peter asked. Better than we hoped, Lisa replied. The Joint Human-Alien Rescue Units have saved thousands of lives in the past month alone. Turns out our Class 16 adaptations make us perfect for disaster relief across the galaxy. They watched as Mary Phillips walked onto the conference hall's main stage. The room fell quiet as she prepared to give the opening speech. Welcome to Earth, her voice carried through the hall. Once known as just another Deathworld, now recognized as something unique in our galaxy. But we're not here to celebrate our world's classification. We're here to share what we've learned from living in such challenging conditions. The audience listened intently as she continued. Earth's Class 16 status isn't just about survival. It's about adaptation, innovation, and working together. Every species here today has something to teach and something to learn. Peter smiled as he remembered his first discovery of the classification discrepancy. What had started as a potentially frightening revelation had turned into something remarkable, a way to bring species together and make the galaxy safer for everyone. Look, Vixna pointed with a tentacle. Even the hive minds sent representatives. They never leave their core worlds unless it's important. Below them, the conference was breaking into smaller groups. Humans demonstrated survival techniques, while alien scientists shared their own adaptation methods. The exchange of knowledge flowed both ways. You know what's really interesting? Lisa said thoughtfully. We're learning as much from them as they are from us. Every species has its own way of handling challenges. By working together, we're all becoming stronger. Peter watched as a group of young aliens practiced using new environmental suits designed by human engineers. In another corner, human scientists studied alien biological adaptation techniques. The fear and suspicion that had first greeted Earth's reclassification had given way to curiosity and cooperation. I guess being a Class 16 world isn't about being the toughest, he reflected. It's about using what we've learned to help others. Vixna's tentacles formed a pattern of agreement. That's why the galaxy needed a Class 16 world, not just to understand extreme environments, but to learn how to face them together. As the summit continued below them, ships kept arriving from across the galaxy. Earth, once feared for its deadly conditions, had become a beacon of hope and innovation. The Class 16 designation hadn't separated humans from other species. It had brought them all closer together.